The Biden administration is reportedly considering changes to Title 42, the public health authority that the Department of Homeland Security has relied on during the coronavirus pandemic to expel migrants at the southern border. And many, including my next guest, says revoking the current emergency order under Title 42 could create a massive unintended consequence at the southern border, making the situation even worse. Joining me now to talk about this and more is U.S. Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma. He serves on 5 Senate committees, including the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, where he is the lead Republican on the Subcommittee on Government Operations and Border Management. Senator Lankford, welcome back to the program.
Tony, it's great to be able to see you again.
And by the way, congratulations on being recognized by FRC Action earlier this morning as recipient of this year's True Blue Award, an honor given to members of Congress who scored a perfect 100% on FRC Action's 2021 vote scorecard. So congratulations.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for standing by so many good people that are here.
Well, we're encouraged because more seem to be coming with each election. That's not a story that the media likes to tell. But those values voters, those Christians who are engaged across the country in elections are sending some good men and women to Congress. Keep doing it, and pretty soon they may be in the majority. So let's talk about Title 42. What is it? What's coming down the pike if this is set aside?
So Title 42 is being recognized as an immigration policy. It's not really an immigration policy. It is a recognition of the pandemic that's happened. In March of 2020, President Trump invoked what's called Title 42 out of the HHS, it's Health and Human Services, under the Surgeon General. And it basically says, because of the pandemic, we're going to turn people around at the border. If you're coming across, we're not going to recognize you. We're not going to allow you to be able to go through the process. And they turned them around starting in March of 2020. The Biden team, surprisingly enough, kept half of it. They kept it for single adults that were coming across, but for family units, they said, we're not going to recognize that. So last year, 900,000 people they released into the country, but 1.1 million people they turned around under Title 42. What the Biden team now is apparently saying, and they won't give the exact details on it, but they're apparently saying soon, it could even be in the next 24 hours, they're going to turn Title 42 off and say the pandemic is over, and we're going to allow everyone to cross the border, single adults and family units. Whoever gets to the border, we're going to release them into the country. When they release them into the country, even though they're crossing illegally, they're going to give them a piece of paper and says, show up at a court 6 years from now in the future. And I wish I was making that date up. It's not. It's 6 years from now in the future. Show up for your first court hearing. And the Biden administration believes when they do this, they're going to have up to 1 million people that are going to cross the border illegally in the first 6 weeks of them turning this Title 42 authority off.
So let me get this straight. The Biden administration is going to declare that on the border, the pandemic is over. It's still applicable to American citizens who fly on airplanes in this country. We have to wear a mask. We're still told that we have to social distance and all that nonsense. But on our border, this provision that has at least stemmed somewhat of the tide, even though we're at a 20-year record in terms of those coming across the border, I mean, this is only going to make matters worse.
It is, and Tony, it's even worse than that. Literally, the Biden administration this month, as of April the 1st, is saying if you haven't gotten a vaccination and you're in the military, we're going to force you into retirement or push you out of the military. So they're going to fire you because the pandemic is so important that in the military, you've got to be able to have the shot. But we're going to, if you're here illegally, we're going to allow you to be able to cross the border, not only not have a vaccination, not wear a mask, but declare the pandemic over at the border, but full raging force if you're in the military. It's completely nonsensical in their process on this, and it is going to bring another 1 million people illegally across the border. What we've seen so far, just in the 14 months of the Biden administration, we've seen more people illegally cross the border in the 14 months of the Biden administration than we saw all 4 years under the Trump administration.
So there will be those that come to the border. They're given permission to come in. They're given a court date 6 years down the road. Of course, we know that not many of those show up for that court date. But this allowance will also, will it not, bring in more illegal immigrants? It'll just open up the flow because it'll be those that come across through the process and those that go around the process. Am I correct?
That's correct. So every single one of these individuals that are crossing are all crossing illegally. So let me make that clear. They're not given legal status. They're given a piece of paper and said, show up for your court hearing because they did cross illegally. So every one of them illegally crossed. But what's happening is the cartels right now, who do secure the southern border, the Border Patrol will tell you the border is secure. It's just secure on the south side. Every one of these individuals crossing the border illegally has paid between $4,000 and $30,000 to the cartels to traffic them across the border. And what the cartels are doing is they're sending family units across the border in one area. They'll put up a drone to be able to watch the movement of the Border Patrol. And as the Border Patrol moves to be able to interdict that family units, then the cartels will then run folks that are criminal aliens with backgrounds in criminal history, or those individuals carrying drugs or contraband a couple of miles down the river, a couple of miles down the desert to be able to run through another area. So they're trying to use these family units to be able to then move people illegally and move drugs in illegally. And we're seeing record numbers of those. So not only the number of people illegally crossing that we're interdicting, but what they're calling gotaways, that we can see them over there and they're getting in, that number is also epic numbers.
This is taking us back to the catch and release. We just we catch them and release them into the country. Senator, I want to thank you for raising the awareness on this. You've been on the Senate floor speaking about it, and thankful that you joined us today here on Washington Watch. Very quickly, as we're going out, what can people do to be helpful on this?
Obviously, pay attention to what's going on. Talk to their members of Congress and to say, I do not want illegal numbers. I don't like chaos. I don't find Americans that dislike legal immigration, but they just don't like illegal immigration, and they want to have their borders secured and drugs to end. So contact your members of Congress and push on them.
All right. Senator James Lankford, thanks for being with us.